tuned to Arrow FM, your local community access radio station. The time now is 8 o'clock. Time now for another hour of the great music that came out in the 1960s with the 60s Nostalgia Show. The 60s Nostalgia Show is kindly sponsored by Cotter and Stevens, the electrical contractors down in Jellicoe Street in Martinborough. Cotter and Stevens have been around for a long time, several decades, providing quality contracting, both personal and commercial. And let's not forget they're wizards around the old dairy shed. Playing in the background, of course, The Ventures and Walk Don't Run. I'm playing that as a tribute to the bass player, a guy called Nookie Edwards, who died this year. He passed away in March, and he was aged 84, but was one of the founding members of The Ventures. And on the show tonight we're going to continue featuring artists that passed away in 2018.
We've already said
Opening up the show tonight, the Moody Blues and Go Now, and a bass player of that group and also a founding member, a guy called Ray Thomas, passed away last January. He was the guy who also played the flute solo on that classic track Nights in a White Satin. Also in January, Edwin Hawkins died aged 74, and back in 1969 the Edwin Hawkins Singers put out this great gospel song called Oh Happy Day.
a happy day. Oh, Lord. Good God. Oh, yeah. Lord.
The Edwin Hawkins Singers there, and Oh, a Happy Day. And that would be one of the things on my bucket list. I'd love to go and see one of those great gospel choirs in those little churches down in the Southern Delta in the States. It'd be magnificent. So maybe I should start doing a bucket list so I can start ticking things off. Also, a person who died in January was the South African trumpeter Hugh Masekela, and he died on the 23rd of January. But back in 1968, this song was a number one hit for him, the song called Grazing in the Grass. Hugh Masekela there, and Grazing in the Grass. There was also a cover version of that put out by a group called Friends of Distinction. Next up, we play tribute to Mickey Jones. Now, Mickey Jones died in February, aged 76. He was the drummer and also foundation member of Kenny Rogers and the first edition. And from 1969, here's their version of a great song written by Mel Tillis, the song called Ruby.
You've painted up your lips and rolled and curled your tinted hair. Ruby, are you contemplating going out somewhere? The shadow on the wall tells me the sun is going down. take your love to town. It wasn't me that started that old crazy Asian war, but I was proud to go and do my patriotic chore. And yes, it's true that I'm not the man I used to be. I still need some company. It's hard to love a man whose legs are bent and paralyzed. And the wants and the needs of a woman your age, Ruby, I realize. But it won't be long, I've heard them say, until I'm not around. Don't take your love to town. She's leaving now, 'cause I just heard the slamming of the door. The way I know I've heard it slam 100 times before. And if I could move, I'd get my gun and put her in the ground. Don't take your love to town. For God's sakes, turn around.
Oh dear, I did that really well tonight. So I can't cue it up and talk at the same time. So we'll play the next track and then I'll get back to the one that I just lifted the needle off. Next up, we've got from 1968, Abe and Esther Ofarim and Cinderella Rockefeller. Now, Abe died in May, aged 80, and he was married to Esther in 1968 when they recorded this song, but they got divorced in 1970.
So much. I love your eyes.
That's very nice.
I love your chin.
Say it again.
I love your chinny chin chin.
You're the fella that rocks me.
Rockefeller, Rockefeller.
You're the fella that rocks me.
Rockefeller, Rockefeller.
You're my Rockefeller.
I'm your Rockefeller.
I love your face.
In the right place.
I love your mind.
That's very kind.
I love your jazz.
Razzmatazz.
I love your jazz. Razzmatazz.
That I Rockefeller, Rockefeller,
You're my Rockefeller.
you're my Cinderella.
Ooh, I love you.
I love you,
I love you.
I love you.
I love
Up every morning just to keep a job. I gotta fight my way through the hustle and mob. Sounds of the city pounding in my brain while another day goes down the drain. But it's a 5 o'clock world when the whistle blows. No one owns a piece of my time. And there's a 5 o'clock for me inside my clothes, thinking that the world looks fine. Yeah. Trading my time for the pay I get, living on money that I ain't made. Gotta keep going, gotta make my way, but I live for the end of the day. 'Cause in a 5 o'clock world when the whistle blows, no one owns a piece of my time. And there's a long-haired girl who waits, I know, ease my troubled mind. Yeah. In the shelter of her arms, everything's okay. She talks and the world knows slip her away. And I have a reason I can still go on when every other reason is gone. In my 5 o'clock world, she waits for me. Nothing else matters at all. 'Cause every time my baby smiles at me, I know that it's all worthwhile. Yeah.
There we go, second go for the Vogues and 5 o'clock world, all about the simpler time in the 1960s when you actually finished work at 5 o'clock. I played that to remember the lead vocalist on that track, a guy called Bill Burkett, who died in March at the age of 75. Right, next up, better have a look at the time. It is 24 minutes after 8 o'clock here on Arrow FM, and you're listening to the 60s Nostalgia Show, which is kindly sponsored by Cotter and Stevens, the electrical contractors down in Jellicoe Street in Martinborough. Tonight on the show we are playing songs that relate to musicians or singers who passed away in 2018, and next up we'll have two in a row from the band called the Left Bank, and no we won't. We'll have a song by Elvis, and I'm playing this one because his longtime drummer DJ Fontana died in June, aged 87, and if you ever wanted to know what the DJ stood for, it was Dominic Joseph.
Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you kiss me once or twice, then say it's very nice, and then you run. Little sister, don't you do what your big sister done. Well, I dated your big sister, and I took her to a show. I went for some candy, along came Jim Dandy, and they snuck right out the door. Little sister, don't you Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you kiss me once or twice and say it's very nice and then you run. Little sister, don't you do what your big sister done. Every time I see your sister, well, she's got somebody new. She's mean and she's evil like that little old Bo Evil. Guess I'll try my luck with you. Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you kiss me once or twice and say it's very nice and then you run. Little sister, don't you do what your big sister done. Well, I used to pull your pigtails and pinch your turned up nose, but you've been growing and baby it's been showing from your head down to your toes. Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you? Little sister, don't you kiss me once or twice and say it's very nice and then you run. Little sister, don't you do what your big sister done. Little sister, don't you do what your big sister done. Little sister, don't you do what your big
Elvis here and Little Sister, aided by his a long-time drummer DJ Fontana. Right, now we get to the Left Bank. Back in June, a founding member of the Left Bank, George Cameron, died at the age of 70. So I thought we'd play two tracks from the Left Bank, starting with Walk Away Renee.
And when I see the sign that points one way, the lot we used to pass by every day, just walk away, Renee. You won't see me follow you back home. The empty sidewalks on my block are not the same. You're not to blame. From deep inside the tears that I
The left back there, and pretty ballerina, and they had an unusual sound, and some bright person christened it Baroque rock. Right, next up we have got a track from the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, who died on the 16th of August, aged 76. And I played a couple of tracks in the blues show, and at this stage we'll play one from Aretha, and if we have time, we'll play another one. But of course, we've got to play this one, her huge hit, the song written by Otis Redding. Twenty-three and a half minutes to 9 o'clock here on Arrow FM, and you're listening to the 60s Nostalgia Show, which is kindly sponsored by Cotter and Stevens, the electrical contractors down in Jellicoe Street in Martinborough. As I said, if we have a bit of time at the end of the program, we might play another track by Aretha Franklin. Next up, though, we've got two in a row, and this is to mark the death of Ed King, who died on the 14th of September, aged 68. Now, you might be asking yourself, who was Edward King? Well, he was a guitarist with a band in the 1960s called Strawberry Alarm Clock, and they had a hit called Incense and Peppermints, but he also went on to be the guitarist for the great southern rock band Leonard Skinner, or Leonard Skinner, depending on what school you went to, and he co-wrote that great song Sweet Home Alabama. But here's the Strawberry Alarm Clock.
Mankind, dead kings, many things I can define. Occasions, spots, wagons, flutter your mind. In the sense of peppermints, the color of time. Who cares what games we choose? Little to win, but nothing to lose. In the sense of compliments, meaningless nouns. Turn on, tune in, turn your eyes around. Look at yourself, look at yourself. Yeah, yeah. Look at yourself, look at yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To divide the cockeyed world in two. Throwing your pride to one side is the least you can do. Beatniks and politics, nothing is new. A yardstick for lunatics, one point of view. Who cares what games we choose? Little to win, but nothing to lose. Good sense, innocence, kryptonite kind. Dead kings and many things I can define. Occasions, persuasions, clutter your mind. Incense and peppermints, the color of time. Who cares what games we choose? Little to win, but nothing to lose. Incense, peppermints, incense, peppermints. Sha-la-la, sha-la-la,
Strawberry alarm clock there, and incense and peppermints. As I mentioned, Ed King, the guitarist for that band, went on to be the lead guitarist for Leonard Skinner and co-wrote that great hit from that group, Sweet Home Alabama. Now, I know that song came out in 1973, and this is a 60s show, so I shouldn't really be playing it, but it's my show and it's one of my favourite tracks. So here's Leonard Skinner and Sweet Home Sweet Home Alabama, not Chicago. That's the blues show.
1, 2, 3.
Turn it up. Big wheels keep on turning, carry me home to see my kin. Singing
That's just to show they had some decent music at times in the 1970s, Leonard Skinner. And Sweet Home Alabama, a great example of Southern rock. That brought the time to 14 minutes to 9 o'clock, and hopefully we've got time to squeeze in these songs. Now, next up, we've got a couple of tracks from Jefferson Airplane, and that's to mark the death in September of Marty Balin, who was a founding member of Jefferson Airplane. So here's a couple of tracks from them.
When the truth is found to be lies, and all the joy within you dies. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. When the garden flowers, baby, are dead, yes, and your mind is so full of bread. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Your eyes, I say, your eyes may look like his. Yeah, but in your head, baby, I'm afraid you don't know where it is. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Tears are running, they're all running down your dress. And your friends, baby, they treat you like a guest. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. You call Alice when she was just small. When the man on the chair
Some of y'all never been down south too much. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about this so that you understand what I'm talking about. Down there we have a plant that grows out in the woods and the fields. Looks something like a turnip green. Everybody calls it poke salad. Poke salad. Used to know a girl lived down there and she'd go out in the evenings and pick her a mess of it, carry it home and cook it for supper. Cause that's about all they had to eat. They did all right. Now down in Louisiana, where the alligators grow so mean, there lived a girl that I swear to the world made the alligators look tame. Poke salad Annie, poke salad Annie. Everybody said it was a shame, cause her mama was working on a chain gang. A mean, vicious woman. Every day for supper time, she'd go down by the truck patch and pick her mess of poke salad and carry it home in a tow sack. Poke salad Annie, the gators got your granny. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Everybody said it was a shame, cause her mama was working on a chain gang. A wretched, spiteful, straight razor tote moment. Lord, I must pick my mess up. Her daddy was lazy and no count, claimed he had a bad back. All her brothers were fit for was stealing watermelons out of my truck patch. Poke salad Annie, the gators got your granny. Ooh. Everybody said it was a shame, cause her mama was working on a chain gang. Sock a little poke salad to me. You know I need me a mess of it. Ooh, good God. Got to have me. Ate her up.
Polk Salad Annie there by Tony Joe White, who died in October. Right, just a couple of other little mentions. Jeff Emmerich, who was an engineer with EMI Records on most of the Beatles songs and also started producing them from, I think, Revolver. He died in October, and last month a guy called Scott English died, and he wrote this song that was a hit for the American Breed.
I'll give you all that I own. you so badly. But there's a force driving me on. I'd follow it gladly.
The American Breed there, Bend Me, Shake Me. I better fade that out, otherwise I'll run over time and get into trouble with Mrs. Beale. Of course, there was another version of that over the other side of the Atlantic put out by the Amen Corner. That brought to a close another edition of the 60s Nostalgia Show, which was first broadcast all over the wonderful Wairarapa on Arrow FM 92.7 and kindly sponsored by Cotter and Stevens, the electrical contractors down in Jellicoe Street in Martinborough.